Good evening. Let me get my microphone. All right, good evening. Welcome to the July 18th meeting of the Westborough Planning Board. Just a reminder, this meeting will be recorded. And I'd like to welcome our new town Director of Planning, Jenny Gingras. Did I get Gingras. Okay. I'm going to screw that up more than once, probably, but I'll just call you Jenny, and everyone will know, except for my wife, who you are. We have a pretty short agenda. We had a couple items on the agenda get moved. We had a discussion and possible vote on the Ridings 2 lot releases. They're not ready. There's outstanding issues with engineering and conservation, so that will be moved to August 15th. We have a continuation of the public hearing for 165 site plan review. That's going to be moved as well. Continuation of the public hearing to modify the commercial component of 1 Gleason Street. And then a continuation of the public hearing for 190 212 Oak Street. And then we're going to appoint the design review board members for the upcoming year. Announcement, our August 1st meeting is going to be canceled. So we'll only have a meeting on August 15th.
I will not be available on the 15th. I will not be here.
Okay. Is anyone else going to miss on the 15th?
Actually.
Okay, I don't know the agenda for the 15th yet. Hazel, you might have to sign a Mullen waiver.
Yeah.
I'll
no,
let Jenny work that out, so. All right. As I said, Ridings 2 lot releases will be moved to August 15th. We have a continuation of the public hearing for 165 Flanders. I have a letter from the applicant dated July 13th, addressed to the planning board. Dear Ms. Gingras, on behalf of EG America, we would like to request a continuance of the planning board hearing for the project at 165 Flanders Road until the next planning board meeting in August. If you should have any questions or require any additional information, please do not hesitate to contact me. And that's signed Andrew Platt, who is from Bowler Engineering, who is on behalf of the applicant. So any questions on that?
Yeah, Mark, we did have a discussion about the fact that it's been continued so many times that there was some talk about contacting them to ask them whether they wanted
Right.
to.
And I know Jenny had reached out to them about that. Did they respond to that request?
Yes, I spoke to Andy, who's the engineer on the project, and I did ask that they considered withdrawing instead of continuing on. And he said at this time, they don't want to totally withdraw. They've actually retained counsel to help them through some of the issues that they're working on. So I would just advise the board, you can put a cap on how many more continuances you want to give the applicant until you're going to say, no, you just need to start over, because the board does vote on accepting these continuances.
Okay, I think we had also discussed if they were going to ask for more continuances, that they send a representative to come in and address us as to the rationale for continuing this. Could you stress to them that they do that for the next continuance, or?
Yeah, definitely. I'm hoping
I mean, they have a month.
I'm hoping that by hiring counsel to help them through some of the issues they're having, that, that'll help move things along.
Okay, it's a month away. The 15th is a long time for them to get their act together. If they're not ready by the 15th, could you ask them to send somebody to explain why?
Yes.
And we'll make a decision about whether to continue. Withdraw without prejudice would be probably the option, right?
Right.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Pete?
Well, I actually, I'm not available the 15th as well, so do we want to move that meeting?
Yeah, we probably need at least 4 of us.
You need 4 to be able to vote on us, any special permits, yes.
All right, so,
Show me what message.
well, we have a choice of August 8th or
The 22nd.
22nd. Yeah. And I'm available both days.
I'm available both of those days,
The 20th.
the 8th.
Either works. Calendar for the 22nd, so I guess.
If I may, a couple of the items that were planned to be continued to the 15th, I don't think they would be ready by the 8th. So the 22nd might be a little better for the applicants.
Okay, that makes sense to me. I don't think
That's fine.
yeah, all right.
Cancel the 15th and move to the 22nd. Is that what the plan is?
Thank you.
Do we have to vote on that? On a regular schedule?
Yes, you should just take a vote.
Okay, I'll move that we reschedule the August 15th planning board meeting to August 22nd at 6:30 in a room to be determined, because Kristen will have to, I don't know if this room will be available.
Second.
Second.
I think I heard John second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. So then if we had to vote on that, do we have to vote on canceling the first? Jenny?
Did you vote on your calendar when you set it up in the beginning of the year?
Yeah,
Did
I
you
think
vote
we-
to accept that calendar? You most likely would have, I
Yeah, I
would
think we
assume.
did.
So
we
you
should
can go
vote.
ahead and vote
Yeah,
to
all right.
cancel
I'll
that.
make a move to cancel the August 1st meeting.
Second.
I heard Hazel second. Any discussion? All those in favor? That's 5-0 in favor of canceling August 1st. All right. So we have a continuation and a request from the applicant. Do we have a motion on that? I know we had some draft motions. I can read this. Go ahead, John.
I move that the planning board continue the public hearing for the site plan review application for 165 Flanders Road to Tuesday, August 22nd now, correct? At 6:30 PM as requested by the applicant in the letter dated July 13th, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? That's 5-0 in favor, continuing that agenda item. All right, next on the agenda, we have continuation of the public hearing to modify the commercial component of the special permit TOV 2014-1 for Village Commons at 1 Gleason Street. Farouk, you're here for the applicant, or are you speaking? All right, could you just come up and give your name and address as usual? Yep, please. Sammy, you can come up too if you want. All right, Farouk, just name and address for the record as
His name?
your name.
Well, Farouk Ansari. I represent Village Commons, 1 Gleason Street, and we are here in front of the planning board regarding the application that we made
Right.
to get the 19 units in one building
Okay.
as proposed by us and presented in the plans in last meeting.
Okay.
To get your, official okay, so we can finish up all the plans and bring it to the next possible meeting.
Yeah.
I talked to my engineer, and he feels sometimes in August, he should be able to, turn that in, yes.
All right, and Sammy, you don't have to introduce yourself unless you say something. All right. All right, so we had put this on the schedule purely to discuss the density bonus, right? The planning board has some discretion based upon the value of the ascending parcel, which is the Oak Street parcel, to assign a bonus number of units. So right now, you're maxed out at 4 units per acre, and you're proposing a density bonus of 4 additional units per acre, which would allow you to build the 19 units. I think we've discussed this at length. Does anybody have questions on that? I mean, do we have to vote this tonight, or do we wait to vote this until the night of, until he comes in with his plans?
You can vote the density bonus as a separate part of the special permit. If you would like to give him some reassurance, However, you could also wait until, you fully review the site plans as the special permit modification.
But the density bonus is contingent upon the sending parcel.
Yes,
Okay, so if he doesn't give doesn't assign a deed for Oak Street to the town, that bonus is null and void, right? There's no-
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, he would need to provide that as a sending parcel in order to obtain the density bonus. In addition, the town engineer did have some comments today that we put in the draft motion to allow no more than 4,000 gallons per day maximum for this agreement, contingent on the sewer study findings. So essentially, if the sewer study findings find something different, that, we can't meet that capacity, that could change. So any revisions would need to go back through the town engineer.
Okay, is that enough for the 19 units, though?
The town engineer felt comfortable with that.
Okay, you understand that, then?
I heard her a little bit, but not clearly. You're talking about the sewage capacity, is that what you were referring to?
Yeah, she said, Lisa, the town engineer, said that she would agree to up to 4,000 gallons per day for that number of units. However, they're doing the sewer capacity study right now, so should that find anything different where we can't have that amount, then this would be subject to you just going back to the town engineer and working out a different amount.
I would have to check with the engineer to see how much he actually needs. That's based on 110 gallons per bedroom.
Well, the
I think
only
you're saying
reason,
4,000.
you have to remember, the only reason you're getting town sewer is because you're replacing the commercial units that were already approved.
Correct.
Otherwise, there's a sewer moratorium. So we have to work within the engineer's calculations as to how much sewage would have been allowed under the existing permit and how much can be transferred to this building based upon the 6,000 square feet of commercial space that is being eliminated.
And also, Mr. Chair, that is based on 36 bedrooms, is what her calculation was based on. And that was what was in the plan. Is that accurate?
11,
How many bedrooms are there now? Let me just check it.
there's 5 one-bedrooms,
5 one-bedrooms, 11 two-bedrooms, and 3. Yeah, 36 total bedrooms.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so what other questions do we have on this density bonus? I think, we can't move forward the rest of the permit until you come in with your engineered plans. And it's been reviewed by staff.
He is working on it. I think it's very close to being done. I cannot speak on his behalf. He just wanted to make sure we are clear, but after tonight. And I gave him all the information that he had needed from the architect so he can complete his engineering plans. I even saw one that I received yesterday, as late as yesterday. And it looks like it's in a pretty decent shape, but obviously it is not 100% complete. As soon as it is done, they'll submit it.
Okay. You're hoping to have that available for review by the next meeting in August? August 22nd?
August 15th, is it?
No, the 22nd.
22nd. Yes, I think so.
Okay. So we did get a list of a lot of outstanding items on the existing residential project. Is it reasonable to expect those to be done by the 22nd? It's quite a long list. Has Farouk seen that list? It just came in today, right?
It just came in today, and I'm happy to share it.
Could you make a point to review that with Jenny?
Sure.
Because I'd like to see that list cleaned up by the 22nd, if not completely.
I'll give her a call tomorrow.
You realize any special permit, is going to be contingent upon you completing these items prior to earth moving, prior to building permit. I mean, It has to be buttoned up and done. Okay?
Should we hold off on this motion until those items are done?
Well,
I think they're two separate items.
yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters because the density bonus is contingent upon the sending parcel, and if he doesn't give us the sending parcel, then he doesn't get the bonus, and if he does give us the sending parcel, then he still has to go through the rest of the special permit modification process, and he won't get a modified special permit if he hasn't addressed these to our
Yeah,
satisfaction.
without the list of things completed, and it's all gonna be contingent.
And if we don't get the special permit, then the density bonus
Doesn't matter.
doesn't, I mean, I guess in theory, somebody else could come in and apply for a modification of the special permit, but they'd still have to give us Oak Street. So it'd be kind of difficult.
Question on the motion.
Yeah.
It says, in exchange for the preservation of open space as required by section 4.6I. Does that, and this is a question for Jenny, but she might not be familiar with that section yet. So does that require that the open space is given to the town or that it's just preserved? Like could he put a CR on it and satisfy that requirement? Are you sure about that though?
I thought it had to be given to the town.
But it doesn't say given to the town unless it specifies in section 4.6I, which I'm not familiar with, but just says for the preservation of open space.
Well, I know that the Veterans Freedom Park was given to the town, I think.
And that might be the option. I'm just saying if it's required to be preserved, that doesn't necessarily mean it's required to be given to the town.
Yeah, but I think we want it to be given to the town.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know if I want to change the language of this motion to specify that it needs to be donated to the town or conveyed to the town,
Right, okay,
rather than just preserved.
that makes sense. I would.
But if something's different in section 4.6I that says it does have to be given to the town, then I think we're covered.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
I'm looking at the section.
Sure, we'll give you a second on that. You don't have a problem deeding the parcel to the town if we move forward with the special permit modification, right?
Giving you the Hannah Place, I mean, the Oak Street parcel, is that what you, yeah. I own it, and there is a loan on it, but we'll have to pay the loan off.
Yeah.
And hand it over to
It would
you.
have to be unencumbered, we're not.
Correct.
we're not
I
taking
totally
a
understand
mortgage.
that. You can have it with the loan if you want, but
So it does say in section I that in order to qualify as the sending parcel, the planning board in consultation with the Open Space Preservation Committee must make that finding that the land be preserved, that the land to be preserved as open space has those unique features, or that there exists a valid planning reason to preserve that land as open space, or that the land is substantially developable and the town would benefit from its permanent preservation as open space than from developing it. So it sounds like, what is the purpose of the town obtaining that land? Is the question.
Well, I think we wouldn't want it deeded to the town, because we do want to save it as open space, and I think from what it sounds like, I need to get the Open Space Committee to have a vote on that as well. But one of the advantages to that site is if the town ever wants to do improvements at that intersection, such as widen the intersection, add a turning lane or something.
Would they be able to do that if it's preserved as open space?
Yeah, and I don't know whether you'd want to take it to the Open Space Committee. I mean, I think that I would just like to see it deeded to the town, quite frankly, and if,
Yeah, but I think the only way it can be deeded to the town is if it meets the criteria in the zoning. We can't just say, I'll deed it to the town and the town can build a school on it. You can't do that. The zoning says it has to remain. And I think in
Yes.
theory, the town could still widen the intersection, but that may take some finagling if that ever, if the
Well, then you're gonna run into a problem that says open space. I don't think you can, unless the town condemned it in some way, I don't think you could, or took about eminent domain, I don't think you could use it for
town.
widening an intersection, and we don't.
Well, we're talking about something that's, may never happen too.
Right.
That intersection may never get widened.
I would suggest, since we're not entirely sure about this, that though I wanted to vote on this tonight, we not vote on it until we get clarification. I think maybe we ought to check with the town attorney and just find out to make sure that we haven't hamstrung ourselves in any way by accepting it with this language and whether there's other language
Well-
which might be more appropriate.
Like, yeah, I mean, I'm okay with wordsmithing the language, but the only way to get the density bonus is through this zoning. It's not like we can say, Brooke, that, not like we
Well,
couldn't
yeah,
do
but
this in
you-
any other zone,
Yeah, but
right?
you
The
only
only
follow-
reason, it's
yeah.
unique to the TOV.
Right.
And the TOV is, the way the zoning is written, it says the sending parcel has to be preserved as open space.
Right.
So we're gonna have to live with the wording of the zoning, unless you're suggesting that we go back and try and change the wording of the zoning, which would go to town meeting, and that seems,
Yeah,
it
Mr.
seems
Chair.
awfully difficult.
Jenny,
So,
There is a section in here, section 9, I-9. In approving the TOV, the planning board shall have the power and authority to condition the special permit on the fulfillment of reasonable improvements to or near the sending parcel, as well as the traditional authority to impose conditions on or near the site to be developed. So that leads me to think that there's some flexibility in how the space can be used from the town's point of view. It does give an example here of parking spaces that could be constructed on the site to facilitate the town's use and enjoyment of the preserved land. So I don't think it's strictly, you have
well,
to
that's
not
very
use the
interesting. We're gonna have to
land.
talk about Veterans Freedom Park sometime, but that's a whole different issue. So I would say that that gives us the ability, when we write the special permit, to say, condition for it to be open space unless the town needs to widen the intersection, and then they could take a,
I would disagree with that.
okay,
Because the way that it was read is that, and for an example with Veterans Freedom Park, if a developer is donating that land as open space, the town can require them to put the parking on the open space so people can use that open space. Versus if we're using it to widen a roadway, that's not for the benefit of the open space.
well, it might be because it would facilitate access to the town itself. I'm trying to think how you can wordsmith this around, but a widening of the intersection is really for, you could argue, for safety reasons. I mean,
So,
so we're really getting way ahead of ourselves
Right.
on this though, too, right? Like, we haven't written a special permit, so we may
Right,
have,
but we're-
we may
No,
be
but
stuck
we-
with a
but
parcel.
we're talking about making a motion that's going to put a limit on that land.
right.
And we
So-
may, yeah, and we may have to be stuck with
The
it.
other, but the other option could be, I mean, if it's donated to the town as open space, it becomes, what is it, Article 97 land? We could petition the state legislature to take it out of Article 97 and then use it to improve that. I don't know how successful that would be, but that's something that we could do down the road.
And I
if
would
that's what we
suggest
want.
that any widening of that intersection is gonna be a state project anyway.
Probably.
So I think we have to live with the way the zoning's written, right? I mean,
I mean, until it's used for something, it's gonna be open space, so we might as well have it as
But
open
as I
space.
said, you just raised, the question that got raised is caused this whole conversation is whether Fruit could keep it and, put a conservation easement on it. Well, that's what we don't want. We want it to be able to be, we want to make sure that it's deeded to the town.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'd still have to pay taxes on it then, so I don't.
You would, but then the town wouldn't be able to do it. Not that, I'm just saying, you know, it's
Yeah, I mean,
land.
so we do want to make sure that the special permit conditions it, or, I mean, maybe we do want to change the wording to say that it has to be deeded to the town, specifically.
I don't think there's ever any thought that it wouldn't be other than deeded to the town.
Right.
But it doesn't say that.
I know it, that's,
All right,
was
so do
looking
you
at,
want to rework that motion?
I would just say, development in exchange for the conveyance of the parcel for open space. Conveyance to the town of the parcel for open space as required by section 4.6. That we know that
yeah.
he's going to.
No, I agree with that. I think that's the way
Jenny
to
and
go.
Kristen, did you guys both get that for the minutes? And are you comfortable with the wording on that, Jenny?
Can you say it again?
So it would read, and I'm not making this motion, I'm just reading it. I move that the planning board allow a density bonus of 4 units to create a total of 19 units for the Village Commons development in exchange for the conveyance to the town of the parcel for use as open space as required. So it would be, so you take out for the preservation of and replace it with for the conveyance to the town of the parcel for open space. Probably
Would it be
state
19
what the
additional?
parcel is.
Yeah, would it be 19 additional units?
Well, it says to create a total of 19, so it's creating 19 units.
Copy of that.
I think we just need to say for, so the conveyance of the 190-212 Oak Street parcel
To the town.
to the town for open space as
Well, the
required.
motion goes on to say specifically the board.
In that first sentence, I think if instead of using the word create, if we said to allow a total of, because it's not actually creating, it's the point of the density limit is to allow additional units. So if you just change the word create in the first sentence to
And then I
allow.
would say 19 new units then
Yeah.
at that point.
Right, I agree. It should be clear that he's getting 19 units in addition to the ones he's already.
Yeah.
I think that's fine, as long as you're making it clear that the Oak Street is the sending parcel.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah,
the
yeah,
entire
it says
motion
that,
makes
yeah.
that clear.
Yeah.
So,
So maybe we say instead, in exchange for the conveyance of the sending parcel to the town for open space as required by section blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And then the next sentence, it says 190-212 Oak Street is the sending parcel.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
so we're going to change that from preservation to conveyance of the sending parcel to the town. Density bonus of 4 units to create.
To allow a total, oh, okay, okay, either one.
It could be
It
allowed a
said
total
allow,
of
yeah.
19
Allow a total of 19
Yeah,
additional
right,
additional
it's allowed,
units.
because that's what we're doing,
Okay,
We're allowing, not creating.
I'm comfortable with that wording. So I think it's good for us to take the vote, so Farouk, I mean, Farouk's gonna spend a lot of money to get this all engineered, so it gives him some surety that he can move this forward. And, you know, I think we're covered under the zoning, that there's no way to, he doesn't go through with the steps on this, then it just goes back to square one, and it's back with the 15 units that he already has and no additional units.
Jenny, the sewer study, my understanding that is supposed to be out very shortly, is that not true?
I don't think so.
You don't think?
I don't think shortly.
I heard it could be next year.
Yeah, it's going to take some time, but the town engineer was comfortable with, conditioning it to no more than 4,000 gallons. I just have 2 notes on this before you make the motion. One on the issues that you referenced that need to be addressed. The planning board can request zoning enforcement if those items do not come into compliance after a certain amount of time. So just so you know that, you can request zoning enforcement. And then the second item is, if this parcel on Oak Street is going to be the sending parcel, then the applicant would need to withdraw their application for, I believe it was a major site plan review.
Right.
And then the board would need to separately vote on that.
But he could wait to withdraw that, and he would wait to withdraw that? Or would he withdraw it without prejudice, and then if for some reason he doesn't get the vote on this modification the way he wants, I mean, should we just keep continuing that until the special permit is issued?
I would recommend just
Have him withdraw without
having
prejudice?
the
and-
applicant withdrawing, asking the withdrawal tonight because it's on the agenda after the board makes this vote. If the
Are you
applicant's comfortable with that.
Withdrawing it without prejudice, and then if for some reason the special permit modification doesn't go through,
The Oak Street.
Then you can reapply.
and,
I think, okay.
and I think in good faith, we would waive the application fee. At least I would be willing to do that if for some reason you had to come back and reapply on Oak Street.
I didn't know that there would be any trouble
I don't
with
think
any
there'd be any
modification.
trouble.
I thought there was,
No, we're protecting you more than anything
right, no,
else.
I get it, I
That's
totally
really-
get it, thank you.
That's really the only reason.
I'll do whatever.
I just don't want to keep continuing Oak Street
Okay.
until we resolve everything on.
Correct.
leasing,
I hear you.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So let's just withdraw it if you're comfortable with that. And then if you have to, worst case scenario, come back and reapply for Oak Street, I would be willing to, I personally would be willing to waive the application fee. And you would just have to resubmit an application at that point.
But you're still taking the vote tonight, right, about the units?
About the
or-
density bonus, we would take that first.
Okay, yeah, all right,
Again, I'm not trying to twist your arm on this,
I know, that's okay.
but I just don't want to.
I get it, yes.
We already talked about we've already talked about one application that just keeps continuing. I don't want to keep continuing stuff the next 3 or 6 months or however long it takes you to get all those plans together. All right, what else? Anything else? Yeah.
Sure. See if I can remember it. I move that the planning board allow a density bonus for units to allow for a total of 19 additional units for the Village Commons development in exchange for the conveyance of the sending parcel to the town for open space as required by section 4.6I of the ZBL. Specifically, the board shall consider whether to agree to the parcel located at 190-212 Oak Street to be considered as the sending parcel, while the transit-oriented village known as Village Commons shall be the receiving parcel with the condition of the applicant, that the applicant shall provide a legal description or deed, and the town's
Can I interrupt you? Because this second sentence, when it says, the board shall consider whether to agree to the parcel located to be considered as a sending parcel, I think that needs to be in the positive, and it's not shall consider, but essentially the decision we're making tonight is that we will agree that the parcel located at,
So you want to take out the word considered as and just,
shall consider whether, because we're actually agreeing tonight that we're accepting that as the sending parcel.
I agree with that change.
Okay, so let me redo that sentence.
Sorry.
Specifically, the board shall consider the parcel located at not 190-212 Oak Street to be considered the sending parcel.
Be the
No,
sending
the board
parcel.
shall agree to the parcel located as, just take out the consider word. The board, take out, shall consider whether. The board shall agree, so
Okay, 'cause
take
then
out
it's
shall
considered twice.
consider
Gotcha.
whether to.
All right, let me do that again. Specifically, the board shall agree
Yes,
to the parcel located at 190-212 Oak Street to be considered as the sending parcel, while the transit,
take out the considered again. To take out,
I think you need to leave that considered in.
okay, you want to- right, okay.
Yeah, leave the second considered in.
All right,
While the transit-oriented village, known as Village, let me start over again, and then let me finish it, and then we can discuss it in the discussion, all right? Specifically, the board shall agree to the parcel located at 190-212 Oak Street to be considered as the sending parcel, while the transit-oriented village, known as Village Commons, shall be the receiving parcel, with the condition that the applicant shall provide a legal description deed and the town's GIS description of the sending parcel, 190-212 Oak Street. Such description shall show property boundaries, areas in acres or square feet, wetlands and wetland setback lines, rivers, protection setbacks, floodplain areas, topographical lines, and other features and conditions normally included in an existing condition survey. The applicant shall also provide a field survey of the parcel by a licensed surveyor. In addition, no more than 4,000 gallons per day is allowed. However, this amount is contingent on the findings of the CWMP sewer study and is subject to re-review by DPW and the town engineer.
And I think we need to quantify no more than 4,000 gallons per day is allowed for the 19
I will accept that friendly amendment.
at Village Commons. At least we have to say
Aforementioned 19 new additional units.
aforementioned 19 additional units. Okay, that's good.
Chris, you got that? Okay.
That way, there's no implication that he could use those 4,000 gallons somewhere else. But there's also there's an understanding that the 4,000 gallons is for the 19, not for the 50. Okay. We have a motion. I will second. Any discussion? Hazel, you still thinking?
No, I'm fine.
All those in favor? That's 5-0. Okay, so we'll hopefully see some real solid progress up there by the next meeting.
All right, the other thing is that Jenny raised the point that, which I thought was a good point, is that actually under the existing special permit, Farouk, you have not completed items under the original special permit at this time.
Yes, I've agreed to that.
So I think at the August 22nd meeting, we need to see some sort of movement on that at this particular time. And we can consider, what was the word you used, force him to complete them? What did you say?
You can request the zoning enforcement officer, building commissioner, to take zoning enforcement, which could include fines.
Yeah, I think, the time may come where we'll think about that, because this has been going on entirely too long, and I'm hoping, are you coming to the design review meeting on Thursday? Kristen?
Is it okay to respond?
Yeah.
My plans are almost ready, and this guy was away for 2 weeks. He said in another day or so, he's trying to get it ready for tomorrow. If it is ready, he'll come on Thursday and present the plan. If not, we have to wait, a few more days.
All right.
Okay? All
Yeah.
right. I think I had said that to Jenny, that I was going to write back to you about whether or not I could come.
Yeah, I haven't checked my email in a little
Okay,
bit
all right,
today.
but-
I've been out,
okay.
so I'm sorry.
So now you know, so.
Just to bring the board up to speed on this, it turns out I went back and looked at our design review meetings, and we had not met with Farouk when we had the discussion about the lighting and the playground accession since last November, and had not moved forward at that point. So he needs to come back to design review at this particular time to get the lighting approved, and we need to vote on the change of using the back portion at the far end, which was, on the original plans, it was going to be like vegetable beds, but to be a play area of some sort. Design review board needs to vote on that aspect of it, and then also to get the lighting taken care of. Those are two things that we have. There are also some drainage issues, which, I don't know, that's really more special permit planning board than is design review, but we're trying to move forward from anywhere we can on this.
Right, and we did get a list of some other outstanding
Right.
items, so I think Jenny's going to work with Farouk on those.
Yes.
So that he understands what's outstanding before he gets any permits for the new units. We're not quite done.
How are we going to determine, so it's, you know, our next meeting's in a month. How are we going to determine that he's completed the checklist? Are we, I know the people from the community have presented a checklist. Are we expecting them to follow up with their checklist?
No, we have engineering looking at it, we have the building commissioner looking at it, and we have Jenny looking at
Yeah,
it.
so they're going to
And I
be,
think even Kristen's looking at it.
so they're going to go there before the 22nd meeting?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and the design review, I'm sure, will be perfectly happy to schedule extra meetings if necessary, because we realize that this needs to be done. It needs to be done at this time of year when things can be done, and we can't sit around and wait until next November to pursue it.
Okay. Do we have more discussion?
No, but you do need to make a motion to continue this until,
I was getting there, but it is a
Okay.
public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to address the board? If you could just name and address again, thank you.
Arvind Sampath, 11 Danya Drive. I'm part of that community, the Village Commons. Thank you so much for giving us your time. So there are a couple of concerns that we would like to bring up. The first thing being things are still not done in the community, whether it be the clubhouse, whether it be the garden area or the lampposts that need to be put. Mr. Ansari has been very kind. He's met with us, which is great. I don't know if it's a contractor issue or supply chain, or we don't understand what it is, but the things are not getting done and deadlines are not being met. And I won't blame him. I'm sure it's the contractors. I'm sure there are other, circumstances that is not in his control. But the timelines are not being met. Second thing that I'd like to bring up is that we did overhear the whole the density discussion, and one thing that we like to bring is these 19 units would add traffic to our area, and considering that when we purchased the property, that was not part of the deal. We just wanted these two to be separated. We would consider that to be a very reasonable ask, that the two properties be separated by a barrier, so our amenities are not diluted. What I mean by that is we have very little space as is, whether it be the pathway, walkway, or any shared area. Now, having to share that with 19 more units with at least 2 more people would just mean that it would get really crowded. And I don't know how else to express that concern.
Okay, can I respond to the second one first? Sure. As far as how the condo docs are drawn up, whether the 15 existing units are given some type of exclusive use of the common areas, that's not in our control. I don't think we would get involved with that at all. That's between you and the developer. As far as putting a fence up and additional traffic, you have to keep in mind we're eliminating 6,000 square feet of commercial space that could create an unknown amount of traffic far in excess of what is being proposed. So, I'm not in favor of segregating communities. Mm-hmm. This was intended to be a village, right, where everybody lives together. There's cross easements between sites and between, right, Westborough Village next door to allow children to go back and forth and so on. But you're going to have a community there, and I'm not going to tell you can't put a fence up, but you have to. There may be a process to doing that, but I don't know that, right, I'm going to.
Well, there's a fence between Westborough Village and us today that separates us from using their amenities. Just to let you know, there is a fence there. So we don't know how to express this, but how do we? And I understand you saying that we have to share it, but when we purchase, and the point about commercial, the fact is those amenities are used most after 5 p.m. when everybody comes from school and comes from their office, by which time the commercial traffic is dead.
Right.
But in this case, it's the exact opposite. the peak hour of usage will actually, the density will double during peak hours, after 5 when everybody wants to take a walk or whatever it is. And you're right, if both the communities, the Toll Brother communities and our community was together, then you're absolutely right. Everything would be open and we would walk across, but we're not allowed today. There's a fence there and there's no legal walkway anyway, so we are confined to that strip of land that we currently occupy.
Okay.
And I understand your vision. It would be great if that can be implemented, but that's not how it is today.
Yeah, and I also understand that when you bought the units, you were expecting to share the clubhouse and the playground with a certain number of residents, and
Right.
and I sympathize with that. So, that would be incumbent upon the applicant to come in with a plan that included a fence.
Right. So in that case, I would request him.
Now, I'm not going, if there's no fence, am I going to vote against it? I don't know yet. We haven't seen a plan, right? So, but I think that he's heard what you said, and I'll allow him to respond in a second. I do want to get back to your first point, which is everything that's undone. I think both Hazel and I and the rest of the board have all spoken that we expect all that to be done before any permits are given for these new units.
Right.
If this process doesn't go forward, the only real leverage the town has to get everything done is to call in his bond, right? And then the
Right.
town would have to do it.
Yep.
There may not be enough money in that bond to do that work, right?
Right.
So then it becomes a burden on the taxpayers.
Right.
So I would suggest that if we move forward with the 19 units and modify the special permit, then we have leverage on the release of the 19 units to ensure that everything is done. If that,
I understand. I mean,
because we can't hold up another project in town, i.e. Oak Street,
right.
to make sure your project is done, right? But if he combines it into one special permit that'll be modified, then we have some leverage to say to him, look, you're not going to get a building permit until you do this, this, and this.
I understand that. But at this point, we just feel like none of our requests have been met. Even the email that we sent out, I think, on June 20th, we didn't get any response from it. We haven't heard back. So we just feel like we're gonna miss the bus, so to speak, and none of what we're asking for is gonna happen, and we're gonna get the shortest end of the deal here, because obviously the town is getting that new parcel of land, Mr. Ansari is getting those new apartment, but we are ending up getting a community which is now shared with 19 more units, which we did not account for when we paid $600,000 to buy that house.
Yeah. All I can say is keep coming in and keep staying vocal, because I think everyone here is sympathetic to your concerns. And we can make requests as the permit modification process goes through and put conditions into that special permit that may enforce what you're asking for.
Got it. And did you guys have anything else to say? Yeah. So is that fence between our community and the other community illegal, according to what you're saying?
I don't think it's illegal, no. The
But
cross
it goes
easements
against the
were,
vision that you just outlined.
yeah, the cross easements, I think, I'd have to look into it.
I think there's supposed to be a sidewalk connecting the two projects together.
Which would be great.
Well,
Yeah, and that's something that was supposed to be done so that as far as walking goes, there would be a sidewalk that would run.
We are confined to our little strip of land, and you
Right.
understand how claustrophobic we feel today.
But isn't there supposed to be a sidewalk connecting the two projects?
yeah, there's supposed, there's a commercial parcel between between this lot and Westborough Village. That parcel has, when that parcel gets developed, the connection is supposed to go through there.
Right. I understand that. I guess my bigger point here is that we are confined to our strip of land right now, as opposed to your vision, which is to have so-called cross-pollination between communities, so we feel like we are part of a bigger project. But that's not the way it is today. It's just one strip of land. We have one road, And you can understand how paranoid everybody's getting, considering now the traffic on that little strip of land is going to double practically. We have 15 units today with one family, which is 2 adults and 2 children. Now, with those 19 apartments, that is going to double. And people are going to come in on this side. We wouldn't have had a problem if we had more land. Unfortunately, we don't. And the little land that we have, a lot of it is just not manicured, not maintained, or has things on it, construction items on it. So we, as is, our usable land is like very small. And the thought of sharing this with 19 more houses just scares us.
But again, I get back to the point, you and the other residents weren't here when we approved the original parcel, right? So you
we
had
hadn't bought the
no
property.
say whatsoever in the traffic flow or how much commercial space would be or any of that. Now you have a say.
Right.
Right? So you can come in and say, well, that traffic flow is going to be a burden, or, we haven't even seen the designs yet.
So
you
what you're
have to
saying is
co-
I'm
you have to-
early?
So you have to follow this process and work with the board, because I can guarantee you that the board will listen to taxpayers in town, right? I can guarantee that, okay?
Yeah, so are you just saying I'm early? So once the plans come in, we'll have.
We've got to see the
more
plans,
clarity.
and then we can start modifying the plans if, I highly doubt the first iteration of these plans is going to be the final iteration.
I
highly doubt it.
understand that. Thank you.
What else? Anyone else have comments? Farouk, did you want to respond to that?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you have any response?
My response is, anything that's reasonable, that I can work out with them to try to help them out, I'd be willing to do that. This is a little bit too early to be talking about it. I have been very upfront and honest with all of them, showed them the plans, went over it, and then did everything I could. But there is maybe more. I've even said that maybe we'll try to separate the HOA between, the two. There's a possibility. But the attorneys would have to look into that, if that can be done. So there are possibilities. So at this point, all I'll say is I'm willing to talk to them and try to minimize the impact.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So,
No, I wouldn't say he's incommunicado. He's been communicating. So it's not a gripe. We just want to make sure we don't miss the boat and it ends up such that it's too late and we can't do anything.
No,
So we're just constantly voicing our
So
opinion
early in
because
the
everybody-
process right now, but you just got to keep on coming and, keep an eye on the agenda. And I know that Kristen has your info.
Yep, yes, she does.
Everything that gets submitted for plans is public information.
Right.
We're putting it on the website. We actually made some changes, so thanks to Jenny, that should make it much easier for you to find it. And,
Yeah, absolutely.
The only thing I will say is the town's transitioning to a new website at the end of the month. So there'll be a little bit of a lag there, but it'll be well before the August meeting. Okay?
Thank you.
Mr.
Thanks,
Chair, if I
everyone.
may, if we don't already have your email address,
Yeah,
we should
so I
get
did
it.
get emails from Kristen, so I'm assuming you have
Okay.
all our email addresses.
Yeah,
Yes.
because we can email you the plans when they come in so that you have a chance to review them prior to the meeting.
Absolutely. That would be great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sir, just name and address, please.
Yeah, it's Ravi Upu. I live in 12 Dania Drive. So I think Arvind brought all the topics, whatever we want to discuss. Just I want to add the follow-up from the last meeting on June 20th. So Mr. Ansari told that like most of the things will be finished in 5 weeks, but now it's already 4 weeks done. So, and also we want, before the winter comes, we want all the pending items to be taken care, in the property, and any items need to be addressed. So we keep requesting it. If action be taken by Ansari as timely, and I think we should be good for that. And also, like last time, we bought a thing about the special entrance to come in the community because of the too much of traffic, and even while the time of the construction, to put a separate entrance at the time of construction, so to be noted. Yeah. So
Right.
to make sure that things should be completed before, the weather changes, summer is over. Because we're waiting there for like years, 1.5 years almost. So people, yeah.
I understand that, yeah. Anybody have questions on that? Do you have a response to that?
I think same thing, I've been talking to every single one of them. Not all of them, but majority of them, so.
Yeah.
That would be taken into
I
account.
just need you to get everything done there, Farouk, all right?
There's only
I mean,
3
I'm
items
tired of
left.
hearing, I'm
They'll
tired
be
of
done,
hearing,
yeah.
it'll be done soon, or, it'll be
You'll
done in
see it,
5
you'll see it.
weeks, and then it's 4 weeks in and it's not done. So you gotta make progress on all that stuff. It's a long list, and I know Jenny will share it with you.
I was just going to say, can we share, Farouk, the list?
Yes, I
Okay, 'cause
can,
it's-
I can
it's not
forward it
just
to
three
you.
items.
I'm
It's-
sorry, what?
It's not 3 items, it's several.
No, 3 main items. There may be some small little things.
They're all main,
Okay.
they're all important.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, I don't see anyone else from the public. Any other public comments?
No, but the one thing that I'm sort of thinking about as we're talking about this is, and I said originally, I thought, on the sidewalk connection, I thought originally there was supposed to be a sidewalk, you see, that connected the two
Right.
together. And I'm wondering if there's any way that we, as a planning board, could be creative enough to see whether that sidewalk gets done so that people are actually able to walk from,
Yeah, the problem was the connection goes through that lot that's undeveloped, and we can't ask
who
him,
owns that, you know?
off the top of my head, no, but it's not,
It's not part of the development,
no, it's privately owned.
privately owned,
So it would be awfully difficult to make a connection.
right?
We can ask him to prepare the connection and, make it up to the property line, but we can't really,
Well, as I said, it's something I'd just like the board to think about, because I think that being able to make that connection, as far as the fence goes, the fence is the back of people's property. It's not a fence which is dividing really the two developments. It's the fact that the fence that is there is behind units directly, and nobody would have wanted to be able to walk from the units at Farouk's over to the units on the other place through people's backyards. So that's kind of a different kind of fence as far as when they said that there's a fence between them and the development next door, but there'd be no reason that they would be able to walk through people's yards and use that property anyway. So I'm just trying to think of some way that there at least would be a connection that people could walk from this area up through the transit village. So it's just something to think about.
okay. Any other questions on this before we continue it? Okay. What do you want a motion?
I move the planning board continue the public hearing to modify a special permit TOV number 2014-1 for Village Commons at 1 Gleason Street to Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023 at 6:30 PM as requested by the applicant.
Second.
Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor? That's 5-0 in favor of continuance. We'll see you on the 22nd. Hopefully, we'll see some
Yes,
plans
we'll keep you posted, yes.
as
Are we gonna
fast
do-
as you can, because we've got to get all the departments to review it, so.
1 second before you go, he needs to formally request the withdrawal without prejudice for Oak Street. Sorry.
I thought we already agreed to that, right? So,
Yeah, we did, but we didn't make a motion on it.
Right.
we make a motion?
Yeah, can you just formally request it, Farouk?
I have to make the motion? Is
No,
that
you
it?
have to.
No.
Just ask
It's for
that
the
application be withdrawn.
Okay, what exactly do I need to say?
I
Ask
request
that
to withdraw
applica-
without prejudice the application for, what is the address?
190.
190 to 212 Oak Street.
Well, okay,
Maybe
I'd like
you
to,
could just send him a draft of a letter. You've got his email address? Mm-hmm. You want to just send him a draft of exactly what we're looking
Yeah.
for, and then he can just put it
I
on
think
his
we're
paper
hoping
and
that
send
he
it
makes
back.
a motion tonight.
He just needs to request it. He can do it verbally tonight and just say, I
Okay.
request to
Well,
withdraw.
Oh,
And then
fine.
you can vote
No
now
problem.
rather than,
You understand what we're asking?
I thought
I don't
they-
want to push.
What you're asking is that I would withdraw without prejudice.
Right.
This particular application in case the things that you guys have to work out don't necessarily get worked out. Then I would have to withdraw the application
No, then you would have to reapply.
Reapply, not withdraw.
and reapply
So,
after that.
so,
Yes.
I would
but
think-
under the state law, you have to formally request that you withdraw the application without prejudice.
Right, yes.
So you just have
But I think
you
if-
just have to make that request.
you just have to say the words for the record.
Oh, you don't
So
think-
that they,
Say that,
so that the
didn't I?
board can vote.
Just make a formal request that
Just say, I request to withdraw the,
I would like to ask the planning board, make a formal request that I will withdraw this application without prejudice. The sending parcel, which is 190 to 192 Oak Street.
Site plan review. You're withdrawing the application for site plan review.
Yes, we would withdraw the applications without prejudice and later on reapply. I need to have this written down so I can just repeat it, I guess.
You don't have to say reapply, I mean, you.
Okay, just say, okay,
You would
withdraw.
just withdraw without prejudice, and then
Yes,
you can.
without
reapply.
prejudice.
I feel like we've got it on
Are you
record,
happy,
okay?
Jenny?
Yes,
So now
I
that
think
we have a
that's good.
formal request, do we have a motion on that subject?
I move the planning board make a motion, I move the planning board accept the withdrawal. Because we're not, this is the motion, to accept the withdrawal of 190-212 Oak Street site plan review application without prejudice.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, that's 5-0. Okay. Thank you, Farouk.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody.
All right.
I'll be in touch with you tomorrow.
great, thank you.
All right, so we have a list of design review board members that was submitted to us. And we have to move to appoint them. The names that were submitted were Michael Halley as chairman, Cindy Dubose as a member, Hazel Nurse as a member, Christian Hedrick as a member, and Allison Gianmarco as a member. Do we have any discussion on that list? Okay, I'm not sure we can appoint the chairman. I think they elect the chairman, is that? Should we just appoint these 5 members as?
Yeah, and I think we don't
5
elect our
individuals.
chairman, yeah.
Yeah, I don't, so I don't think the motion, again, I'm not sure how, do we have, we don't even have a draft motion. So I'll move that the planning board accept or appoint those 5 individuals to the design review board for the upcoming term.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, that's 5-0. Another item on the agenda, we have review planning board packet procedures, and I'm going to turn this over to Jenny to introduce, and then we can have a discussion.
Yes, so basically, we as staff, Kristen and I, want to hear from you what you think about the method of receiving the planning board packets like you did from this last meeting. If you want to continue receiving it that way, or you would like to continue receiving the documents via Dropbox. And if not, what other ways are you interested in receiving the packet?
So I'll start. I'm not a huge fan of Dropbox. I'm constantly getting asked for, solicitations from Dropbox.
You are not?
I am not.
Okay, yeah.
I actually really liked the packet that we got this time.
I agree.
It was thorough, it had everything I needed, it referenced prior, and I believe the intent would be to put that packet on the planning board website so that the public can access it as well, which I think is important for transparency. So I personally like this. I have no problem if we want to use another sharing method, but I like the way it was put all together.
I agree. I happen to like this method. I do not like Dropbox, so I'm very happy to get this by email. And be able to just open it and have it there and then I normally print it out because I like to read things in print, so for me, it's very helpful in that.
Yeah, I think it's easy to print if you want, or, you know, I liked getting it, being able to find it right on my calendar.
Yeah, the calendar invite was helpful.
Yeah, I always like the calendar invites. I like to get those ahead of schedule, and then we can just modify those as needed, but,
I'm saying having it attached to it so you're not searching through the emails.
I agree.
Okay, yeah, and then my only note would be sometimes the plans can be quite a large file to email. So what Chris and I had talked about would be to just put it on the website and give you a link to the website to access the plan there instead of sending it over email or sending it in Dropbox.
I'm good with that, too.
Okay.
So I will be the voice of dissent, I guess. I don't mind Dropbox. I don't love Dropbox itself, but the file sharing seems to work. The way that I tend to do it is we use Google Drive, which is a little bit easier to navigate. And I've just noticed, I don't know if it's the case here, but I guess it is because Jenny was just saying, when you try and put all of the if you have a pretty full agenda and you try and put all the documents together, it becomes a very long memo. And if there's multiple iterations of documents, not all of them can go in the memo, so we might want to look at it not be in the memo. And so that's why I usually make a folder for each project and just throw everything in there and then link that folder into the memo. So if there was something like that, that's what I would prefer, but that's just how I do it, so that's probably why I prefer that. The calendar entry is fine.
I think the calendar entry is good, but I agree, I would like to be able to reference prior meetings, so maybe a link with the documents for this meeting and maybe a separate link with any previous reiterations, or, I mean, I have no problem, like, with Google Drive, I'm just not a big fan of Dropbox.
So another way we could do it is the agenda and the memo I wrote could be sent to you in a PDF, an email, and posted to the website, of course. And then each project, if it was a large project, I think Kristen had started doing this already, you could just click on that and find all of the plans, which should be up there anyway, because of
I was just
Mass
going to
General Law
suggest
and
something like that,
records.
when you divide the things. In other words, if it's it's a huge file, then you can click on it and get it somewhere else, but just the memo and the agenda and that, one together, PDF, and then but with links if you wanted to go, whether it could be Dropbox or the town website, to be able to get plans, for example.
Yeah, I would recommend through the town website, just because, I am concerned about transparency, and there's been a lot of new information that's been helpful regarding open meeting law and access to records for residents and the public in general. So if we can direct people on the website to get the information there, I think that would be best, rather than Dropbox. So for example, if we got a records request, someone could potentially request everything in Dropbox, and even though it would be the same as what's on the website, it would just be double work for the staff.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to, I think if I'm asking to look at a previous iteration, then it's reasonable to expect that somebody from the public might want to see that as well. So I think I'm fine with it all being accessible through the website. I think we're going to have a little bit of a learning curve on, is it going to be, are you going to send us 5 links, or are you going to send us 1 link, or, or am I just going to go to the website and find it? So I do
I
think
think
this
we're
is,
also going to have to wait and see how well the website works.
yeah, the new website too, that'll be a
That may
transition.
take,
So.
that may take a little time also.
Yes, we did have a meeting on that today, and essentially, we need to update our current page to easier transition over everything to the new website. So we're not starting from scratch on the new website. But I'm sure we can, Kristen and I can figure out a way to make it easily accessible right now on the website, so that you're not getting multiple links and it's not confusing on where to look.
Yeah, I would just say, let's give it a try and then see where the the tweaking needs to be, because I have a feeling that you and Kristen will be able to figure out something that's user-friendly for us.
So if you're okay with it, can I send you a memo that I do, just as like a layout and linking and all that kind of stuff, and maybe that will.
Sure. And if there's anything in the memo that I sent you all that you don't like to see, or you want something else added, that's fine. This one was a little bit difficult for me because I was still learning about these past projects and understanding the history.
That was very helpful, because I think it's always good to remind the board members of history. I mean, some of these things have been around a long time. You have a tendency to forget all the ins and outs, so I found it very helpful to just have some history, again, to just remind me about things. And also, I think we need to be reminded on how long things have been on our agenda, which we may have failed to follow up on, just because you have new things coming in all the time, and then things sometimes get lost and not followed up on, because that's why the history I found was very helpful on that. And the other thing I was delighted to see was that someone didn't get their papers in by Thursday, and were not allowed on the agenda. And I think that's very important, so that people know that if you don't get your stuff in when you're supposed to get it in, that you're gonna have to wait till the next agenda unless it's an emergency situation. So I was very pleased to see that, you kind of stuck by your guns on that.
Good at that.
I just
Thank
make
you.
one very annoying request.
Sure.
Scan the memo and just send a native PDF.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it was scanned because it was probably included with the agenda.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the, so I just got a new version of Adobe, so I didn't have that before. So yes, it will be just converted into a PDF instead of scanned.
What an annoying request.
Right.
Okay, other business, reports of board members who attend other committee meetings. Let's see, we haven't had a Hakamaka reuse committee meeting, but I did hear today that the town received a grant for the call center. I forget what it's called now, I'm sorry.
The dispatch.
The Regional Dispatch Center. So it looks like that project will be moving forward at the Hakamaka site. And I don't know if I mentioned this at the last meeting, but we do have collaboration with UConn to look at the rest of the reuse as far as, looks like it's going to be recreational, some type of recreation. So, Open Space Committee, we had a meeting with state, DCR, Sudbury Valley trustees, and the town of Upton, and did a site walk of really it was 3 parcels, 1 in Westborough and 2 in Upton, that would add 80 to 90 acres to Upton State Forest. So there's some interest in all of those parties collaborating on that. It's still early. But the properties are all in Chapter 61, and the property owners, not homeowners, the property owners are willing to work with us on that. That's a promising thing for me.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. What other committees? The Master Plan Implementation Committee will not be meeting till August. We're getting an update from all the department heads on any items that may be done already in the master plan, and we have a meeting scheduled Thursday with our consultant to talk about next steps. One thing I do want to talk about on the master plan implementation committee, we had originally, and we can't really act on this tonight, but we had originally proposed a committee of 15 members, and we had one member resign immediately. I don't even think they got sworn in because they didn't want to give the time commitment. And we have another member who is leaving for college. So we're down to 13 active members, which makes it a little difficult to get quorum. And I don't know if we want to consider reforming the committee as 13, I think as the, or whether we want to actively pursue 2 members who have not had the background information that the rest of us have been given. Information gathering, and I'd like to move forward with the 13 members and not have to educate new members, but I'm certainly willing to do that. So act on that tonight. It wasn't on the agenda, but that's the update from it, so.
I think it sounds like a good plan. I mean, I think at this point, the whole point is to move this forward as quickly as possible. And I think since you've got 13 working members, that probably you're better off just moving forward. Put it on the agenda for the next.
Okay.
I mean, there might be 2 people in town that.
Do it?
I would, I do, but I can't. I have
No,
other commitments on Monday nights.
Maybe we can reach out to make sure that that's publicized in the open committee seats and see if we
Right, they've
get,
got the list that always
see if we
goes
can
out.
get,
to the Board of Selectmen.
see if somebody shows interest before the 22nd, and then we can talk about it. We don't have we don't meet again till August, so we're probably only talking about one meeting that might be difficult for a quorum, and in the summer that gets even more difficult sometimes, but I think we'll be able to manage with, we just need eight of 13 to.
That's not too bad. DRB, quickly, we're working on the Bay State Common sign out in front there. The Bay State, as you probably all know, has a new owner and is trying to make things more visible and people easier to find things. So we've met with them a couple of times. They were supposed to come back this week, but I think it's going to be a couple of weeks still to do this. The height of the sign was one kind of stumbling block. They added an additional 6 feet, which caused me to, myself personally, to feel that was a little too high. And so they're doing some revisions on it. But the manager of Bay State Commons, not the owner, but the gentleman who's managing it, seems very nice to work with, and I think looking to improve the use of the space in there, make it more people friendly, and see what they can do to really make it a show place in our. So that's moving forward. A couple of other small businesses. There's a new pop-up bookshop which is down in the shopping center across from CVS. They got a grant from the EDC, 3-month pop-up rent being paid for. And so if you have a chance, take a look at it.
It's open until when?
At the moment, they've got 3 months.
From now?
From,
They just opened?
well, they're already into it, so I would say they're into it by about 3 weeks or so.
I can,
But I think any of these EDC projects, obviously you want to support and have other people support. So there's plenty of parking there, and it's a good thing to go and take a look at. I don't know what else is coming on that. But it is one way to put business into shopping centers and see whether they can stay and survive, populate, because we've got so much extra space. Yeah, it would be.
Little kiosks.
That would be really, well, I think we've got to be awfully careful of Roach Brothers. Their main tenant in there and has all the sway. That's the reason their sign is the biggest on the top. And so that's the one problem with that. There are non-compete clauses in a lot of those leases. You have to watch out, so you've got to spread out various things that you could have in there. But I think there are plenty of things they could look for new businesses to get in there that would draw the public in. And that's what this owner seems to be interested in. We're very pleased about that aspect of it. And obviously, we're going to follow up with Farouk and getting things done there. Supposed to come in, get him in August again, or we may have a DRB meeting before then to get him in to follow through on that. I think, the DRB was a little lax on that. And everything else that was going on was middle of winter. It's hard to go out and look at, and I went out and looked today, and that part in the back where there's supposed to be a playground or whatever is a total disaster, and then he's got construction equipment parked all around and anything else that might be open space, so that needs to be followed through. The other thing is that I don't know what the status is of the CPA at the moment. There is a committee. I know I'm going to be the planning board member on it, and I thought they were appointing other people, but I've heard nothing else. I know someone from the Historical Commission has been appointed, but I haven't heard anything else. I don't know whether.
Yeah, I still need to get the Open Space Committee together to appoint a representative from the Open Space Committee. We're down to 5 members out of 7, so that's another quorum issue that if anybody wants to do double duty on open space or knows anybody, I mean, we can't have another planning board member on open space because we've already got 2. So if anybody out there wants to be on open space, please submit your name because it'd be nice to get a full group.
And the same with the CPA, if anyone's interested in joining that. That at the moment, obviously, we don't have money that we can move forward with much, but it's going to become a very important committee in this town.
Yeah, and I have my own thoughts on how that money should be spent, but obviously that CPA committee will be making recommendations to the town. Pretty important. Funding the way. All right. One other thing I wanted to update you on. I just today got a new set of easements for 50 Otis from Atlantic Management. And there's still some open questions about the parking easement at the baseball fields because of the unusual way that was created. It actually dates back to Sam's Club, and they have a lease agreement with the Little League. So I think that the parking easement will take a little bit more. So what I did was I asked them to break it into separate easements. So we should be getting the trails easements. Got the trails easements today. I have to get those reviewed, and I'll probably put that in Jenny's lap to review and get council to review, and then hopefully get those finalized so we can at least use the trail easements. And then the parking easement shouldn't be far behind. I got somewhere today on it. it looks like the easement will have to be given to the Little League. But again, I think council will have to weigh in on all of that. Anyway. And also the check. If you remember, there was a $25,000 donation required. It looks like that'll have to go to the Little League as well, because it was earmarked for improvements at Target Fields. And the Little League is the only one who could do those improvements. I don't know that the town could do those improvements based upon the way that arrangement with Target is set up. Yep,
Was that determined?
it's not 100%. Yeah, I don't think Leah knows how that Target setup is. Yeah,
I haven't heard back from Leah yet,
yeah.
so.
I know, I've had conversations with her that I think you were CC'd on. So, if not, I should forward that to you. Okay.
Minutes? Okay, we have one set of minutes for June 6th. If everyone's had an opportunity to review them. Any questions or changes? If not, could I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Favor? Thank you, Kristen, again, for a good job on those minutes.
All right, do we have anything else? I don't think there's anything else, but Jenny, do you have anything else?
No, just thank you for your patience with me as I get caught up with everything.
Well, welcome to town. I'm excited for it, and we'll just keep moving forward. Anything else, Kristen? Okay. I think we can I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor? That's 5-0 in favor. Have a nice night, everyone. We'll see you in August.